Oh, hello. Um, today, where are we? I am back today. I had a lovely day off yesterday. I did literally as little as humanly possible. To the point, I got up late. I mooched around all day watching Michelin Impossible films, and then, Rory ate another tub of Vaseline, the little shit bag, and then I ordered takeout for tea. So realistically, the laziest day pretty much you can get as an adult. So we are back. Need to push the table back a little bit better. There we go. Otherwise you can't see shit. There we go. Yeah, give a bit more view. Right. So we need to hop on over to this side to do more of these. More snakes. So we have two of you. One, two, three. Put that over there for a minute. So, what were you doing? Hello, Poop Meister. Are you sorry? Don't believe you, because you'll do it again, won't you? Mr. Paws, you will do it again. I know you. I don't need both of you trying to sit on me. No, I don't. I don't need both of you sitting on me. Don't you get... long, so I'm going to shorten them slightly. No, Harvey, little man. Are you sorry? Are you sorry, little man? It's 24 hours a little late. You now regretting your actions, but you won't, because you'll do it again, won't you? You will. I know you will. Because you're mine. And I know that inside that head is mainly fluff. And much as I love you, just as you are, yes, I do kind of need you to stop eating tubs of Vaseline. I really, really do. I mean, I don't entirely get why you think they're edible. I mean, they're not going to poison you, but surely the squits and the bubble farts that it gives you, yes, bubble farts, I said bubble farts, surely this is an indicator that this is not, I mean, I could eat this, right? I could eat this, but it's not exactly food, and it probably wouldn't sit so good in my stomach, but it wouldn't kill me. Eating 400 grams of Vaseline is kind of on the same level, right? In that it's not bad for you. And compared to colonoscopy prep, probably rather superior. But you're not going for colonoscopies, my friend. You don't need to kind of practice. You don't need liquid poops. No. More to the point, greased liquid poops. No. Little man, you sit there. You can sit there and be a lap dog if you want, as long as you actually sit there and be a lap dog. You can't get much more in... Little man, I can't really have you any more in my lap and still work. No, I can't. You are somewhat... I have a little lapdog. I have a little baby boy as a lapdog. You're a very good boy. And bot stirred. Excellent. Did I do that wrong? I might have done, you know. You get in this tiny little pinhole there. That's right. Actually, I may need you in the one above. Let me play counting backwards tricks. I can't see which pin it is. It's that one. You are bottom, so you need to go into that one. So you go to that one, you go to that one. So you indeed dog. You and your stupid big head. No, I just want to move you slightly. There you go. There you go. You sit there like a good boy. Yes. Oops, hand bash the microphone. Once again, it's hotter than the devil's armpit in here. What is wrong with this country? How are we so hot in the evening? dog. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Ooh, watermelon sounds nice. I'd like a piece of watermelon. So what are you cross-stitching then? What picture-y thing are you cross-stitching? Ooh. Sounds good to me. I must admit, there's been a couple of things that I've seen on Etsy that I'm really kind of I really want to do, and they are ridiculously detailed. But it's kind of like, let me grab you the picture. Hang on. It's the easiest way to do it. Hang on. dig out one of the things. So let me I need to click on things, hang on. So if you can see that, which I kind of assume you can, yeah, this is kind of what I fancied doing. That and one's very much like it. Don't get me wrong, I probably hate my life. Yeah, they've got a number of similar kind of pictures. So, so they've got kind of a number of similar ones. Well, similar level of detail and complexity. I mean, in some ways that one's simpler because it's got a lot more plain colour in the middle. But yeah, there are quite a few with a fair bit of detail on, and you don't like buy red and just do white. They're all do on white, do both kind of details. So, I don't know if that's. Is there more? Oh yeah, there's another one. There you go. So, they're kind of nice. I kind of fancy doing some of those. There are other ones. I know I've seen other ones. I know I've seen. They do lots of. Oh, shut up, dog. It's the neighbours. They're getting a man coming to collect their sofa. And they got some coloured ones that are kind of nice. But to be honest, I quite like something like this, which is almost a mishmash of all the others. I kind of like that. But I'm not so sure I really ought to be going that hard at it to start with. But they've got quite a few kind of single colour ones that I really quite like. So yeah, that's kind of something I've been interested in looking at doing, and hence I bookmarked them because, well, you know, it never hurts to plan ahead, as the phrase goes. But I need to have a quick bio break because my bladder's just decided now's a really good idea. I shall be right back. Yay, I'm back, I'm back. So, are you alright, Rory? Heh. Interesting. The other side worked. This side doesn't look quite so good. So, you're on the inside already. Right. Not ideal, but this will do. Excuse me. What happens when you drink too much fizzy coke? Hello, hello. Put two back in here. This. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. How are you? Ah, eating. That's always a good thing. Definitely getting warm in here. Dog's on the off. Hey, hey, hey! now. I cannot explain to you how hot it gets in here sometimes. Especially considering, you know, the sun went down and it's kind of should be getting colder. It really does, and it seems to get hotter. I need to just feel my lips are a bit dry, and of course probably having eaten all of the Vaseline. because it's really not as hard as it sounds. If you pick any random spot, this spot here, I can't do this spot because I need the incoming thread here and an incoming thread from that one, so I can't do that one. So the only ones I can do will be next to an existing pin. But you have to work back up to the top. So I could be doing this pinhole in here because I've got 3 from this side and 3 from that side. Could do that, but I'm not. Or I can do this side and I can do this pin, and well, I happen to, in the middle of this pin, I have to cross the 6 of these with the 6 of these, and I've done one so much. It's a lot like coding in that you start at the start and you finish at the finish kind of thing, right? You can't leap in halfway through. You have to start where there's a starting point, and all starting points will be the top pin of a pokey area. So from here, after I've twisted them, of course, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So from here, on this side, I can't do that one because I need these 3 to have come and met there. So all of these ones are all complete. Basically anything from this line downwards is out. Over here, I can't do anything except this one pin. So that's what I'll do. Like everything, you get used... I won't say you get used to reading it, but once you've tried it and realised that you can't, you know, which ones you can and can't do, you get quicker at it. And because obviously you're doing it, you know roughly where you're working, so you'll know which bits you can and which bits you can't. So once I put this pin in, I have secured all 3 legs of this spider down. That's not right somehow. I screwed that up. You were a little enthusiastic. Undo you, because you should have been you. There we go. That's pinned all 3 legs down. That's good. That's what we wanted. Tug, tug. Right. So I could now do these, or I could grab 3 of these and do this spot. Choice is mine. And you basically make a decision of, do I do this bit or that bit? Do I do this bit or that bit? Do I do this bit or that bit? As you go along. Now, you might be curious as to then how you end up with multiple spots, because usually you start in one corner. So at the very beginning, you start in a corner and radiate out. It doesn't actually matter which corner. I tend to go left because I'm right-handed. So, but I can then start the right corner because I had the choice. And so I end up with a V shape like this of work above it completed. Well, you can invert that V because you've still got all the bits. And so you end up with like a zigzag, and you can flatten it out if you want. You can work it all down to a straight line. And then try and roll it along, but it's actually more convenient to kind of snake. We're referring to these things down the sides as snakes, and well, you can effectively snake across because obviously a snake pivots by flipping itself and doing the wiggle. Well, so I can have these behind and then bring these down, and then this will be behind, so I bring it down. So, and you wiggle your way across. So it is very snake-like. It's most of it is just kind of go with where your heart takes you. But obviously you have rules such as you can't just leap in somewhere. You have to kind of, you have to have the pairs ready to meet at a pin, and that's it. If you've got the pairs to meet at a pin, that is an option. You can do that one next, you know. for me, it's a lot, you know, like we said, for me, it's a lot like writing a computer program. In that you take something in your mind, which I've drawn out on a piece of paper, and you make it happen. You apply logic and no, because my eyesight's terrible. My eyesight is actually terrible. I have a -6.5 prescription, with glasses that frankly need throwing in the bin. As I can demonstrate, if I do this, you'll see on the coating that the coating's worn off. But of course, it doesn't just wear off, it wears off in little tiny chunks, meaning it interferes with my vision a lot. And I'm too cheap to go and get a new pair, because my glasses generally cost me £1,000, and I don't have that kind of money to float about. So I, don't have £1,000 to float at the rightness now. So I have not updated my glasses in a pretty long time. I mean, they're not the actual prescription wise. They're not that bad. I could do with a slight tweak to the reading prescription because I have varifocals. But the biggest problem I have is that, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but over here they love to put coatings on your lenses. Now, some of the coatings are fine, but there is one coating that my body seems to react to. It's not too surprising, Mickey Cats. Me, it really isn't. As I said, I know my reading prescription could do with slight updating, but it's not so bad that I can't live with it. The problem for me is the anti-reflective coating. Now, they put on lots of coatings over here. They love coatings. They love dipping them in all sorts of shit. But one of the problems I have is that if I go to an optician's who do the kind of, hey, if you need a new pair of glasses, you can have them today kind of motion, right? What's the matter, dog? And I say to them, that's great. I'd love this pair of glasses. Here's a load of money. But I don't want first of all, they charge you for anti-reflective coating, but you can't not have anti-reflective coating. They don't stock any lenses without. So then you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks for them to have them made. And as a result, you end up going, fine, give me it because you needed the new pair of glasses, because you were in there because you couldn't see. And my body reacts to it and chews through it. I don't know what it is, but generally the anti-reflective coating does not last me more than 6 months. This is 2 or 3 years. Hence, they're knackered on both the inside and the out. Because, of course, once it starts going and chipping, you end up cleaning your glasses more because it interferes with your vision. Now, not drastically. It's not like, a kaleidoscope or anything. But it interferes with it when your eyes try and focus just a little bit more. And my eyes have got really sensitive to not being able to see. And they tend to react to it. And so I'm in a position where, but I also have a mental kind of issue with vision where if I do this with my fingers, I can clearly see this finger's on top. If these were threads, I would not be able to see. If it's thin enough, and knitting wool of, say, jumper variety is usually fine. If it goes much below sock, I can't tell if it's over or under. And as this is constantly about over or undery threads, I can't tell you which is on top and which is not, which makes faffing around with it quite difficult. But like everything, you try one way, and if that's not the right way, you go the other. It's kind of that kind of logic you end up applying to it. So even though I know what I did, or what I thought I did, I still manage sometimes not to be able to undo it easily, which is kind of comical, really. Well, when we started, this was back up here somewhere. This was also slightly further back, and this bit below, so obviously you can see better than I can, there's a little kind of diamond in the middle of here. All I see is a big pile of pins, so you'll have to forgive me for this, but I did the bottom part of the diamond and then the kind of mesh underneath it. So that's what I've done today. Does that make sense? Prior to that, if I scoot this forward a little bit, hang on, scoot, there is this bit. I do need to apologise because once again, still on Elgato for the fact that their camera and their stream deck are not working properly, and I need something dark. Where's my phone? No, let's use the work phone. Hang on. And then the work prior to that, hang on, scoot a bit more. So we did a cathedral. This is known as a cathedral arch style of spider, and this is the top bit of the next motif down, which was a cloth stitch diamond inside a cloth stitch diamond. So those are the bits that we've done before. And if I scoot that back to where it should be, we have this bit, which unfolds to be a big pile of stuff. So this is the first test strip that we did, or it's the first audition strip. So if I use my phone again, because, well, it's just really conveniently black. We've got a single rose ground, a 2x2, a 3x3 and a 4x4. We then have some honeycombs, which give us, actually if I hold it up a bit more you can see it a bit more. So we have like the rose ground, there's a single, a double, triple, 4. The honeycombs, this was a bodge because the thing that was originally supposed to be there, I just couldn't make it work. A thing we're nicknaking the Eye of Sauron, and a really tiny focus arch, cathedral arch at the bottom. So that's that one. And then these three are all the same. They won't look it, but they're all the same. Are basically slightly shorter, but they're all the same in that they're a bigger spider with a smaller spider. And then I did something slightly different for these. Are all the same. Then I did some variations on here, which got me to thinking of, well, what other choices could I have for decorations? This will then be attached at the end of this one over here, because as you can possibly see, hang on, this, you can see there's a bold line here. That's because at the edge of each strip I've made, yeah, at the edge of this you can see I've made like a bumpy edge, whereas normally you make a straight edge. Where's my squares? Hang on. So normally with lace making you make a straight edge down it, and well, that obviously creates a hard join line, which is part of the reason we are abandoning the square project. I've got half a square to go, but in this, instead of butting two things together, there was a lot of debate on stream about whether you have two bobbles and put the third bobble in between them. Not that I'm very good at doing that with fingers, but you know, because obviously I can't make a same size loop with that one, but may put the bobble in here, or whether you butt two bobbles together. This is two bobbles overlapping each other and then held together with a yet another layer of thread, which is why it's bold, because instead of each of these lines being two strands of thread, there's effectively 5, because you've got two twisted together on there, 2 twisted together on there, so that makes it 4, and then a 5th one binding it together. This one I didn't overlap them, and I butted them together, and it's basically invisible, so we celebrated. But we do note that one bobble looks bigger than the other. So on the next join, we're going to see if we can address that. But if we can't, I'm really not that worried by one bobble being slightly bigger than the other. Because it's still pretty unnoticeable. I mean, it does form a line, and you can see it when you know what you're looking for and all that kind of rubbish. But like everything, sometimes you just have to kind of live with what you can, right? So, got to do that. I've got this strip to go, and then a bit more of another strip for options. But to be honest, I think the candidates on this strip are less exciting, are less good, for want of a lot of words. I think many of these will be a no. In part because the cloth diamonds are shit to do. It should be really easy, but actually it kind of works out not. Because, and again I would show you, but at the edge of the diamond, you've got a zigzag and it ends at a point on the outside edge. Well, what do you do with it, sort of thing? So you end up kind of feeling like you fudged it, and you kind of have. So with all that in mind, it's not ideal. I'm going to end up with differences of opinion as to, I'm bound to do some of them slightly different. So I'm kind of not so keen on that, kind of going off that one. So I do think, as most of this strip is contained within a cloth diamond, most of these options will be less enjoyable. It's not that Lizzie's overheating for quite drastically, actually. Lizzie's somewhat hot. And I don't know why I'm so hot. It should be cooler than this. Oh, that's why outside is still 23 degrees. Oh, shut up. No, Nautical, no. My work bestie is going on holiday kind of round about now. I think they're jetting off literally almost now-ish. That's a good point. Hang on, let me... I am somewhat overheated, very much so. That is in centigrade, just to clear that up. But for some reason, and you can find lots of information about this on the internet, for some reason temperatures here hit different. And there are lots of people who come from countries where, you know, because we've been getting 30 odd in, you know, we've not the last few days, but we've had a few days of 30 something degrees, which it's pretty warm, but it's not, you know. Personally, I've been in hotter, and I can tell you, I remember putting a cardigan on at like 34, 36 degrees because I felt cold. So I know how it works. But here in the UK, our houses are designed to trap heat in. And don't they just, right? They're like little heat magnets. And so we don't have air conditioning. It's not a thing in the UK. Just homes do not have air conditioning. No one in the UK can afford to have an air conditioner, really, for the like week that you'd need it. Although we all bitch about it and then want one for the week that we do wish we had one. It's like having a soft top car. There's no point in having a soft top car in the UK either, because it rains far too often, and so as a result, 23 degrees is really not that bad. But I can tell you now, it's warmer than that in here. Hang on, let me ask the magic device of telling. Hang on. Alexa, what's the temperature on the downstairs thermostat?
The downstairs thermostat temperature is 24.5 degrees.
So 24.5 indoors. It's too warm, frankly. 24.5 degrees is just way too much. But also, opening the windows is all we've got. And of course, if you open the windows, the contestants for, the failed contestants of A Bug's Life come and join in. And now we have nothing particularly poisonous here, so that's a good point. But at the same time, I don't really want to share my house with them. I mean, I find them a bit creepy. I mean, I don't really have a problem with moths and butterflies and dragonflies that we get around here. I do have more of a problems with beetles. Definitely not such a strong spider fan. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Australia, for example, has some really expensive spiders, and I would move out if we had some of those spiders. But as a general rule, there is not a spider in this country that could sit in the corner of my room, and as long as he stayed sat in the corner of the room, he can stay there. I have no problem with that. Running away. No, they're not. There's just something a bit creepy about bugs. Now, a lot of it is because worldwide, most of them are poisonous. But I have a general rule of thumb with most bug-type objects. If you are leaving my vicinity, if you've got near me and are now, before I notice, and are now leaving, that is great. Good for you. Have a nice journey. If you are passing by me and maintaining a reasonable distance, hello to you, I hope you enjoy your travels. If you are running at me, your lifespan is proportional to your speed. The faster you get here, the sooner you're going to die. Because do not run at me, do not land on me, do not basically invade my personal space. I do not like it in any shape or form. It could apply to humans as well, but they don't. They take a little bit more strongly to offing humans for similar kind of things, but I'm not the scream kind of. Well, it's not unreasonable. I give, unless they're coming at me and basically winding me up. I mean, I've had some real horrible brushes with spiders, especially. So, as a child, and I think within a fairly short period of time, because my mother seemed to have this thing about moving my bedroom around, painting it, and I spent... My parents' house had 3 bedrooms, so it was like my parents' room, a big room, and a small room. The big room was at the front of the house, was noisier. The small room at the back, of course, was smaller, but quieter. So there was a bit of grass is greener. Sometimes you wanted more space, so you were thinking, I can deal with the noise. And then sometimes it was like, no, I can't deal with the noise, I want the quiet. So I spent a lot of my time moving between the small room while she painted the big room, and vice versa, right? And on both occasions that this happened, my bed was in the same position, which suggests it was the same iteration of bedroom moves, right? Lying in bed, snooze, 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 snooze. I open my eyes and a spider runs out from under the sheet and the duvet and stuff, right? Right in front of my face. Now, it was not the world's biggest spider. It was probably this kind of size. But it ran out from inside my bed as I woke up. This is not a good thing. I was also sitting, as I said, bed in the same orientation, so probably within a couple of months of itself. I was sitting in bed reading a book. I was reading a book, which is uncommon for me, but I was trying to read a book. Plonk! One landed on my shoulder. Now, I was reading a book, so I was away with the fairies, thinking I'm in a, all alone in my room. This thing landing on my shoulder, I mean, it could have been parents touching my shoulder, I still would have pooped myself. But it was a spider. Jesus, did I leap quite a bit for that. Because again, right on my shoulder. So I turn and look at it and it's kind of looking back and, I'm pretty sure the spider went, ah, too, but I couldn't hear it. So, there was also went to go and have a bath one morning when I lived on the farm. We didn't have showers, so you had to have a quick bath. Stand in the bath, throw bits of water at yourself. Went to go in the bath, and country spiders are bigger than town spiders. So this thing was probably about this sort of size. Now, its body was still probably only this big, but it had, like, big legs. And it was in the bath. Yep, I was going to stink that day, because there was no way I was getting in that bath with that in there. And see, I'm not a screamer when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm not so bad. I am, however, I will jump at the merest thing in films. So even though you can see it coming, right? You can see it coming. You hear all the music. Something's going to happen. It's dark. Something's going to leap out. Generally, the murderer or whatever it is, right? There's going to be an explosion. There's going to be something, right? Even if it's a film I know, I still leap like an idiot. And I know it's coming. I even know I can even predict what is exactly going to happen. But it will still make me jump. And to be honest, one of the worst films I ever saw was Arachnophobia. I was not scared by the 20-foot spider at the end because, well, we don't have 20-foot spiders. That's bullshit. I mean, they got some big ones in Australia, but nothing that big. It was the daddy long legs sized little ones that were killing people. And of course it was daddy long legs season, so we came out of the cinema to a face full of daddy long legs, and there wasn't a single one of us who didn't kind of go, ah! We did do a bit of screaming at that point because it was also past midnight, and it was a bit late and we were a bit leery by then, and it was a kind of a mass hysteria job, and we were never quite the same. But yeah, I jumped at basically every spider in that film, so I have a healthy disregard for spiders. But, if one was sitting here and it just stayed sitting there, I would be staring at it, but I could stare at it as long as it stayed there. If it got a lot closer, there are many things that I have to hand, such as a hefty book, that could terminate said object and relieve me of this issue. Now, I don't like to kill things, but when it comes running at me, it becomes me or it, and well, I'm 20 stone of me, and it's a little thing, and I go smish. I Hulk smash. And I don't feel too guilty about that, because it was running at me. It chose to end in its existence. I have caught a number of bug type things on stream and put them out in the garden. But if you're going to be really pedantic, I will just have enough. I've given you a chance. I do try. Wasps, however, do not get that. Wasps get instant death. Partly because I got to the age of nearly 50. In fact, I might have been 50, I can't remember exactly. No, it was at my old house, so I'd have been mid-40s. And I woke up one night, because I've explained many times on stream, I'm actually awake when I'm asleep. It's complicated, just go with it. That is a very true statement. So when I wake up, and most people won't know what woke them, I know exactly what woke me. You could have said a word in another room, and I would have heard it and woken up. And I don't remember it, but I know what it was. Oh yeah, don't disagree with that. But of course, I am blessed, is the only word for it. I'm recess negative blood. They don't like me. And I must be super recess negative, because they will... you've got recess positive blood, my friend. You are recess... Oh, they do get real friggin' itchy. But I can tell you now, if they've bitten me, they died, so I win either way. And word will get around. I am the poisonous berry to a mosquito. So good luck to them. I think I've only ever been bitten about twice in my entire life, and I have sat in clouds of mosquitoes. We went to Africa when I was a kid, and there was someone sitting there kind of going, male, female, 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 all over the place. They were just sitting there literally all bloody night. It got really annoying. And I'm sitting there, and they're all kind of like spraying themselves, lathering themselves up with insect repellent stuff. And I'm just sitting there, and it's like, there's almost like a force field around me. And they actually said to me, they're not going anywhere near you. And I went, no. Twice. Yeah. They just, I can go almost, you could almost lock me in a box with starved mosquitoes. Seriously, you could pretty much put me in a lockbox of starved mosquitoes and they would choose starvation. I might get one bite and they'd all go, oh my God, as it rolls over and dies, and they will not touch me. What I would say to you is what I said to my dad when my dad went back to Africa without me. I said, garlic. And he looked at me and I went, there is a reason why they always say garlic wards off vampires. Mosquitoes are little vampires. They don't like the smell. And so my dad used to take garlic pills, and he actually came back because I said this and he was like, bullshit. And he went, and every time he'd gone, he'd like lathered up in like, you know, his body weight's worth of insect repellent and come back bitten to hell because he was O positive, right? And I went, try garlic. So he took garlic with him the next time. He didn't get bitten once. And he went, how did you know? I went, because that's where it comes from. All of these like myths and legend things have a basis, and the basis is mosquito. Really? That's why they say. So if you don't like garlic as garlic, because not everybody does, I happen to love the stuff. Never have my roast chicken is all I will say to anyone who doesn't like garlic, because there's almost as much garlic as there is chicken. You will not be bitten when you've eaten that for a couple of days. But you can get garlic capsules, which come in like little rubbery capsules. So you don't smell it or taste it. You chuck it in your face, swallow it with a glass of water. And obviously, as your body digests it, it expands. And there's basically a garlic oil in it. And it excretes the garlic. So you get kind of the same impact. So my dad did those because he didn't like garlic. My dad didn't like a lot of things. Basically, it had flavour. My dad didn't like it, right? And so, yeah, he tried that and he got bitten so little on that trip. And he was like, how? Dad, you just got to pay attention, you know. And I do attribute it to part of the reason that I don't get bitten is because I like garlic a lot. We didn't eat any while I was out there that I remember, so it wasn't like I was topping up as I went. And we were out for like 2 weeks, so it would have left the system. But I'm also negative, rhesus negative blood. As a whole, rhesus negative people do not get bitten as much if there is a positive person around. Oh, I know far too much about mosquitoes for the girl who doesn't get bitten. Because, of course, to be honest, while we do have mosquitoes here in the UK, but we don't have anything particularly carried here. We don't get malaria and stuff. But it did make me laugh when a friend of mine went to Spain. And she knew all about my stories about mosquitoes and all the rest of it. And she quite likes garlic, but didn't think about it. She got bitten to fuck. She got absolutely bitten like nothing else, only she caught something, and she had many months of being quite ill, and it was kind of like, And they said, oh, I think they think I got it from a mosquito. And I went, uh-huh, yes, lucky you. You did have all your jabs and take your malaria pills. No, why would I do that? You did check, right? No. There you go. So yeah, I do know far too much about mosquitoes for the girl who doesn't get bitten though. Yeah, she ended up in hospital and all sorts. Oh. It is, and at one point afterwards, the doctors were kind of trying to decide whether or not she had picked up one of those autoimmune disorders. And I said, you did remind them that you got bitten by, like, malaria-driven mosquitoes when you went to Spain, right? And she went, no, why? Why would I do that? And I said, because, well, you might find it's relevant. Oh, could it? Yeah. So yeah, mosquitoes are shits though. I mean, they do have the decency to go and drive you insane, but as someone once said, if you think you can't make a difference as one voice in a crowd, be a mosquito in a room. When you think about it, you know, one voice can change the world. You know, you can make a difference. That's always good. No, Rory, come here. Better. Rory is still suffering after effects of his snackette yesterday. Aren't you? Ah, gross animal. Really? Rory is currently nicknamed Bubble Butt after eating a tub of Vaseline. Wretched animal. It wouldn't be so bad, but this is like the 5th time he's done it, and it's getting a little bit boring now. Because, yeah, pretty much. I was talking to a guy at work today, and turns out he has Labradors who like eating socks. And he says, you have not lived till you've had to pull a sock that has passed most of the way through your dog and is dangling out the other end. And it's kind of like, yeah. But I can also tell you, you haven't lived till your dog eats a tub of Vaseline, farts, and deposits the whole entire lump of Vaseline on between your back and the couch. when you're a pet owner, the level of gross that takes you is a lot less, you know? It's a little like having children. You just kind of go, yeah, whatever. That was the first time he ate the lump of the tub of Vaseline. But last time, I wouldn't mind, but last time was only 2 weeks ago, and he obviously felt a little bit rough after eating it, because it does have the action that everyone would expect from a tub of Vaseline. And, well, it clearly felt quite dodgy after the last one, so I really had hoped that there would be some learning. That's pretty frustrating. To be fair, other than Post and biting it because it's come through the door and wrecking things, these two haven't eaten anything. Charlie ate a load of... Charlie is the little guy in my icon. When he was alive, ate quite a lot of DVDs, mainly PlayStation games and the like. But mostly my dogs have not been into eating things too bad. But Rory just has this thing for Vaseline, and I just don't get it. The nearest thing I can kind of come up with is that he associates it with the smell of me. And so if I'm not around to lick, he likes it because it smells of me. But it's a bit tenuous, really. Not so sweet when the dog's sharting lumps of Vaseline everywhere. Because Vaseline doesn't come out of things very easily. best to you. God, it's nearly 10 o'clock. This is the only problem with doing this, is you do this for a couple of hours. And then of course I've got to upload them. And by the time it's uploaded, it's like 2 in the morning. no! That's not good news. I know you hate it to some extent, but running away is never losing it is definitely not a good plan. Not that I'm thinking you did it intentionally, of course, but yeah, that's not a good thing. So no extra motif today, but we didn't do badly. We really haven't. So, what day is it? It's Wednesday today. Wow, really? Wednesday already? Shit, it was bin day. Crap. Oh well, never mind. Happens to me nearly every week. I don't know how I do it. Actually, to be fair, my co-worker did understand. One of my co-workers came to say goodbye before they left the company, and I was explaining to them because it was Wednesday, and I said, "Oh, it's bin day," and he kind of looked at me and he went, "But it's Wednesday," and I'm like, "I know, it hurts my head because Thursday is bin day, but obviously I've got to kind of get them ready tonight because they come at like 7 o'clock in the morning," and he's like, "That's just wrong," and I went, "No, I know. It's halfway through the week. It just, I mean, I know they've got to do it 6 days a week. Hooray! Well done. I'm so pleased for you. Obviously, be a good person and don't take too many or all that kind of bullshit. But I'm glad you found them. Because not knowing where they are is always a worry. But yeah, as my co-worker said, sure, they go collecting rubbish on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays. But Monday makes sense because it's after the weekend. You filled up your bins, it's empty then for the week. Friday makes sense because it's now empty, ready for you to fill it over the weekend. Any other day just makes my head hurt. And my last house was Friday, so that was easy. It made sense in my head, and I went with it. And it took like 1 week to get used to it. I've been here 6 years and I still can't get used to the fact that it's Wednesday. But I've got to prep for it. Because, of course, my working week is different on a Friday. So I go to bed earlier on a Thursday. I've got to get up earlier on a Friday. So the fact that it's all different helped with remembering bin day on Friday. Well, it's just the middle of the bloody week. And then I get to like now, it's 10 o'clock at night. It's a bit late really for going and grabbing bins and making lots of noise. And it's now, or when I go to bed, I lie in bed and go, oh shit, it was bin day tomorrow. And by the time I've got up, because even if I intend to get up early, I never do. And then the first thing I'll hear is the bin man coming and going, oh crap, I've missed them. It is quite frustrating. It really doesn't help me. I'm good at remembering things, but not when I necessarily need to remember them. So I can remember minutiae of tiny trivialities from now until Kingdom Come. But I will also put something the size of Mount Everest in front of my front door to take to work in the morning, move it and go to work. And 90% of the journey to work, can't really turn around and go back because I'll be late and all the rest of it. My brain will go, you know that thing you moved it? Yeah, you needed that. Oh shit. And I can do that for weeks. So it is, or you need to post a letter. So I'll drive 1 billion times past the letterbox without posting it. And every time I get home, oh, I meant to post that, idiot. On the way to work, oh, I meant to post that, idiot. I am terrible at some things. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today. We did a fair bit. We've uncovered more of the motif. It doesn't look too bad. Anyway, I saw an interesting article today on a lace-related subject for a change. And they're calling it micro lace. Now, technically it's not really micro lace because it really isn't that small. I mean, it's small, but it's not, it's just scaled down, right? We've all seen, people who make like little crochet animals that you can barely see with the naked eye. This is not that kind of small. This is thread 2 or 3 times thinner than this. Well, I say 2 or 3 times thinner, depends which way you think about it. It's about half So this is 60/3 cotton. They're talking about using 140. Now, your mathematics will assure to you that for it to be 140 times longer, whereas this is 60 times longer, for it to be 140 times longer, it's not necessarily 2.1 or whatever it is, not even that much, 2.05 or something, times thinner. It is, volumes do not work in circumferences and all the rest of it in that kind of way, so you'd have to get the calculator out to work out how much thinner it is. But let's say it's approximately half as thin, right? And they're using insect pins to pack them in because it is smaller. But they basically showed a little square that was 1.5 inches wide, and obviously not as detailed as, say, my 5.25 inch thing, but that had some level of detail in it. Probably not dissimilar to this, because this, if you halve this, that would be roughly what this is. So it was approximately half the size of this. And they were going on about, like, you know, it was almost like someone invented sliced bread. It was kind of amusing. And there was a part of me that goes, you know, like everything, because so much of lace, and I mean this with a lot of respect to all lace makers, you cross, and it's a bit like knitting to an extent. You do the stitch and expect the outcome. You don't really check how it looks. And with this, you cross twist, whatever, pin, stab, whatever, you know, in all the right places, and hope for the right outcome. And so as a result, size is kind of irrelevant. The fineness of thread and trying to work with such close proximity, and obviously the ground stitch, which is the mesh bit, becomes really difficult because obviously you've got a forest of pins and you can't see jack crap through them. But to be honest, I looked at it and I thought, I bet if I could find the cotton to do it and get some pins, I could definitely do that. Would I want to? There's a bit of me going, well, yes, because imagine how great fine your net curtain would be. On the other half of me screaming, shut up, brain. In that, don't you dare suggest that crap. Because, you know, if I do this, I might make 7 strips just because I might make 7 strips and have, but once I've sewed all 6 together, I will be able to go back up to my window and decide how wide it would look with a 7th one and whether I can fit a 7th one in, and then I can think about doing odd, even kind of, which is what I'd ideally like to do, because then I can do like big, small, big, and then small, big, small, make it a bit more of a pattern in that sense. But you know, if I was to make it of half the width strips, but with the same number of bobbins, doesn't really scare me because, you know, number of bobbins fits quite nicely. So the fact that it might only be making half the width doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, obviously, it would be a lot of work in a smaller area, so it would grow less downwards in that respect. And obviously all of the things on it would be comparatively smaller. But it wouldn't be that big of an issue. Because instead of having, say, 6 strips, there'd be 12. And fitting a 13th in would be fairly okay. Obviously, 13 strips. But, yeah, it can happen. It can happen. So yes, I you know, it wouldn't have deterred me. I mean, there is finer thread. I mean, I've got some hundreds, so I've got some stuff that's getting close. And I'd happily use it. But but I think it's too thin for this. But this is it 60 or 80? Hang on. Where's me? It is. This might even be 80 actually. Yeah. 60. I thought it was 60. But I could probably reduce this to 80 and you know, barely notice the difference. So it is one of those things, is that it just makes it a bit... Oh, excuse me. You know, in some ways it would probably look nicer in a slightly thinner. But I do kind of like the weight of this. It is a very light... I mean, considering the size of this, this is so much lighter than the squares that we were making, because it's made of, well, considerably thinner stuff. But I do like how this has a lot of light to it, but it's still fairly dense. I mean, in terms of a net curtain, it's still quite thick. But I do like it. I like it more than the squares, which is why we're changing over after all. So, put my lid back on my squares. Anyway, I shall be back tomorrow. It's Thursday. Yeah, I shall be back tomorrow. And I shall bid you love and thanks for being here, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. And I may dump you on some raiders if I find someone. See who's up. Yeah, let's... I'm going to chuck you over to someone else. Hang on. You'll like this lady. She's really nice. So, where is she? I've lost her. There she is. So,